Alright, so this is pretty much the start of my new project. So I'm really in the preliminary stages of the whole design, and I'm just going to start out by doing a new Revit file, and I'm going to choose, I'm going to browse, open up my templates, and I'm going to choose a residential default template, and I'm going to say OK. Now whenever I go in here, since the whole lesson revolves around the site planning, solar studies, and conceptual masses, one of the first things that I want to do is I want to go through and choose my actual location. Revit's real nice where you can actually pick out a real location, and we just do that by going to the Manage tab, and on the Manage tab, these are condensed a little bit, going to look a little bit different on your screen, but there's a location button under project location. I can click on that, and what happens is this dialog box comes up. I'm just going to stretch it down a little bit so we can get it all on the screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get us started by typing in Clearfield, PA. Now, if I had an actual address, I could type that in here, but whenever I tried to type the actual address in, it could not find it. So at this point, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to navigate to where my address is. And I'm just going to keep on zooming in, looking a little bit closer. And I'm a little bit over this way. And I'm going to switch to my satellite view so that I can zoom in a little bit closer. And what we have here is the actual photograph of the Rivers Bend properties that we're going to use. And before we do that, I'm just going to show you how that relates to my image. So right now what you're looking at is this area right here, is this area. So on this map of the development, there are future phases too, and they're not actually in there. You can see the difference between the roads that are actually there and the roads that would be there in the future. So that might be a consideration whenever you're doing your design as well, looking at what the future might hold for the development. We are right in this location right here, and if we look at that close up, try to zoom in a little bit closer, you can see it is 83, which is at the corner of Drift Rocks Drive and White Break Way. So that's going to allow you to go through and choose this actual site, and you'll have the ability to have a corner lot there. So you can do a lot more with a corner lot depending on where you would want a garage or a driveway or sidewalks. So whenever we look at this actual site, we are closer to this location right here. And just to double check that, we'll open that file up again just to get a better idea. Here is the road. So that is a pretty accurate, pretty close idea of where lot number 83 is. At that point, I can say OK. And now Revit has my actual site data. The next thing is to actually look at our site plan. Now our site plan is basically going to be an aerial view of the entire building and the layout of the land, and a lot of times that would be from 50 feet in the air. You can adjust those settings in Revit. But if I look at my view, or my project browser, I can go over here and there is a site plan already set up. And there's nothing in here, so I can't actually see anything yet. But in my properties for this view tab, I can go through and look at some different things. Right now, what I'm looking for is my orientation. So right now, my orientation is set to Project North. And this will make a lot more sense after we actually have something in the drawing. So my Project North, I'm going to change that to True North. I'm going to hit Apply. And I'm going to leave it at that. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to actually put in some real property lines. So I know exactly what I'm dealing with. And my property lines are going to be on my Massing and Site tab. And there's going to be a button over here for property line. And I'm going to create by entering distances and bearings. Now, I know what these are because I looked at the deed description. And I have those printed out right here. And I'll see if I can get them big enough that I can actually see. And just zoom in on those so that you guys can see how these are laid out. So the property lines are made up of basically 4 lines. And whenever you look at property lines, there's basically 2 different components to the property line. This is one single line. And it's just kind of like a vector. It has direction and length. So the length is 165 feet, 5.5 inches. The direction, the angle, is in reference to north, south, east, and west. How this would read would be north 43 degrees, 17 minutes, 10 seconds. Whenever you look at degrees, I don't know how much you've had as far as learning about this in math class, but a degree can be broken down further into minutes. So there's 60 minutes in a degree, and then it can be broken down even further. There's 60 seconds in a minute. So whenever I look at this, it's a very accurate representation of the line. 165 feet, 5.5 inches long, and the direction is north 43 degrees, 17 minutes, 10 seconds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to this information, and I'm going to look at this, my distance. I'm just going to bring this up on my other screen so I can see to input this. My distance is 165. Try to make this a little bit bigger. Not working. 165 feet 5.5 inches. My angle, or my bearing, is going to be north, 43 degrees. 17 minutes. Ten seconds. And this is going to be relationship to west. So it's somewhere in between north and west. It's basically what that's saying. And the radius would allow you to, if you had a curved property line, in this case we don't. After putting in all my information, I can go through and you can see that I have all four of my lines developed with the bearings and the distance. I can go ahead and say OK, and I can place my property lines within my site plan. After my property lines are on there, the one issue that I have, if I go back to my floor plan and I look at the property lines, and I want to start drawing some walls on here that are oriented to the site, now all of a sudden I have to do that, and my lines have some strange angle within my floor plan. So my floor plan should be set to project north. Whenever I'm doing work in a floor plan, it's always going to be project north. My site plan, however, whenever I go down here and I look at my site plan to view properties, it is set to true north. Now, it doesn't look any different than project north right now because I haven't adjusted my true north for the angle that I have. So right now this property line is at a certain angle, and I can go back through and I can look at what angle that's at, and I just simply click on this little gizmo, come over here, angle to true north. After messing around with this a little bit, subtracting my angle from the total and then adding 90 to orient it the way that I want to, I can go through and put in that info. So after doing the math, I can go through and I see that the angle that I want to use is 226 degrees, 42 minutes, and 50 seconds. And whenever I do this, again, it's not going to look any different than what I previously had. But the significance of this is whenever I go into my floor plan, it is going to look different in here. So at this point, if I want to start drawing some walls in my floor plan view, I can show my walls and draw them like I normally would with the orthogonal lines. And then once I go into my site plan, it's still going to be oriented to that view. So in my site plan, it is set to true north with an adjustment for the angle, and in my floor plan, it is set to project north.